Bingo.
Got a doll baby, I love her so.
Sweet.
A man, she, anything but calm. A regular pint size atom bomb. Atom bomb, baby, atom bomb. Her and my, she's just the way I want to be. A million times.
Fallout 4 is such an awesome game. Just making the intro was fun. Hi, I'm RamNexus. Welcome to a Fallout 4 frame rate video. This video is the first in a series where I'll be examining different types of Fallout 4 mods, looking for mods which don't impact the game's frame rate on Xbox Series S. Today, I'm looking at a bunch of grass mods. The number of grass mods is impressive. I've chosen the ones that seem to be the most popular. I'll load each mod individually and we'll see how each grass mod looks and how much it impacts the game's frame rate. 3 of the mods I tested have some variations which change some aspect of the main mod. I really like that idea as it allows for some customization. Finally, I did have problems with a couple of the more popular mods and I'll describe these issues when I get to them. Let me know which grass mods you use. I want to know if I've missed an obvious mod. Right, let's do this. Spring in the Commonwealth. The first mod is Spring in the Commonwealth. This mod is 28 megabytes in size. According to the mod notes, it has been updated 9 times, which does suggest some error fixing and optimization has gone on. And even though the last update was way back in 2016, I had no issues installing it or running it. Here we have some screenshots comparing Spring in the Commonwealth to Fallout 4 Vanilla with no mods, both set to the game's default mode. Fallout 4's default mode is a graphics setting of 60 FPS and with performance mode selected. There is a second version of this mod called Dense Spring in the Commonwealth, but after using it for a while and comparing screenshots, I am not convinced it was any different from the normal version. Right, for my first frame rate test, I wanted a static location looking out over a complex scene with a long draw distance. So I chose the roof of the Corvega assembly plant. It's no coincidence that this is the same place Digital Foundry used for some of their frame rate testing. It is a good place to stress test the game in different modes and easily compare them. I've used this location for a bunch of FPS tests. You'll see some of them in later videos. However, for the grass mods, the difference is not always very noticeable visually, not from this position. So this test here is less about the change in looks and more about how FPS is impacted or not impacted. Spring in the Commonwealth averaged 59 FPS, and with no mods, Skyrim is at 60 FPS, so that's hardly any difference. The second frame rate test is a dynamic one. It's a run through the middle of Boston. I'll describe the details of this test in a minute. So how much did the Spring in the Commonwealth mod impact frame rate when running? I'm happy to say not at all. It was almost the same as with no mods enabled. So overall, we can comfortably say Spring in the Commonwealth has almost no impact on Fallout 4's frame rate. If you're finding this interesting, do you mind giving this video a like? Thanks. Remember, every like draws the attention of that YouTube algorithm fairy sitting there like some daydream lord listening to the prayers of its worshippers. Anyway, also consider subscribing, as I'll be doing some more of these mod FPS test videos in the future. I've also started a series of Oblivion Daedric Quest videos, FYI. Okay, thanks. The second mod is called Healthier Commonwealth, and it's a PC mod ported to the Xbox. It's not small though, at 220 megabytes, and it hasn't been updated since 2017. Healthier Commonwealth has an optional add-on mod called the Less Grass plugin. If you want to use it, you put it after Healthier Commonwealth in your load order. Just note, I found that if I had both enabled, it actually only showed one mod as being enabled if I checked my loaded mods when playing. Now, I'm not sure if this is a bug. Someone tell me if this is normal for add-ons. I'm not sure. I only mention this because I was a bit confused about which mod was installed when testing, and you might have the same issue. Healthier Commonwealth does look good, and the Less Grass plugin makes a noticeable difference. With just healthier Commonwealth installed, FPS averaged 60 on the Corvega factory roof. However, if I also installed the Less Grass plugin, average FPS dropped to 56. I am surprised drawing less grass impacted frame rate. I'm not sure what's going on there, but as we'll see, this didn't show up on the dynamic test. So, when running like a madman through Boston, there was no difference in FPS between the two versions of the mod. Healthier Commonwealth averaged 58 FPS over the 2-minute run, with the Less Grass plugin giving the same result. However, both mods had moderate amount of variation, and both dipped below 50 FPS at times. The impact on frame rate is low. Unfortunately, I had issues loading this mod. Some save games would load, but others just wouldn't. Fast travel was also impacted. The mod would not let me load my normal save for the Run for Your Life test. With the mod loaded, I also couldn't fast travel to downtown Boston at all. So, healthier Commonwealth does look good. I like the flowers, but in my experience with it, it's just too likely to crash my game, so I can't recommend it. If you've been using it without issues, let me know. This running test I call the Run for Your Life test. In a previous video, I described this test and why I measure FPS this way, but in a nutshell, it's just a 2-minute sprint through the middle of downtown Boston. I receive fire, but I don't engage enemies, I just keep running. The run is long enough that I travel into new outdoor areas that the game needs to load in. And my armor gives me a 20% movement buff, so I am moving quite fast, which puts the game under additional load. After I record each run in lossless video, I worked out the average frame rate. I've found the Run for Your Life test is a good way for me to compare different mods and graphics modes. Alright, let us continue. The next mod I tested was pre-war green grass. This is one that I used a lot this year, though I've got to say it looks a bit plain compared to all the other mods that I've looked at for this video. It's a tiny mod at only 28 kilobytes. It loads and runs fine. Pre-war green grass doesn't add any extra grass, it just changes the colour of some of the dead and brown grass into green. So it only adds a little bit of green to the world. As you can see, I call it a subtle improvement, but that could be what you're after. I certainly liked it when I used it. As you might expect, this mod also had no impact on frame rate, clocking in the same score for the Corvega test and the Run for Your Life test as the game does in vanilla mode with no mods. To help make this chart easy to read, I've rounded off all numbers to the nearest whole number. Variance, sometimes called sample variance, is a metric used in statistics. Here I'm just using it to show how much frame rate changed during the 2-minute run through Boston. Variance is best used to highlight big fluctuation changes in frame rate. The next grass mod is maybe the most popular one. It's called Green in the Commonwealth. And boy, does this mod greenify the Commonwealth. It really does change the look of the game, which is actually what you'd want if you've played a lot of Fallout 4. As the mod description says, recoloring the environment to give more of a green experience. Adds lush trees, plants, shrubs, and green textures throughout the Commonwealth. Some areas are more dense than others. I think some people are too. Anyway, I tested version 3 of this mod as it's said to have been made compatible with the next gen update. This is a large mod. It weighs in at over 280 megabytes. Here's some screenshots. When this mod works, it makes the game look great. It might be a bit too green, maybe, but it's a matter of choice. But you can't deny it makes a nice change to the game. Quick tip, if you're having trouble finding this version of the mod in that diabolical mod search tool within Fallout 4, then just try searching for open bracket 3.0 close bracket. Just put that into the search term and it should pop up. But after what I'm about to say, you may not bother. Okay, here's the start of the bad news. Frame rate was down to 46 from the roof of the Corvega factory, down from 60 for the game running with no mods. This is a big drop. During the Run for Your Life test through the middle of Boston, the Green in the Commonwealth mod plunged average frame rates down to 41. Frame time variation was very, very high, the highest for any mod that I've tested, meaning there was huge fluctuations in frame time during the 2-minute run. So Green in the Commonwealth eats frame rates like nothing else I've looked at. Unfortunately, that's not the worst of it. Green in the Commonwealth also caused stability issues for me. My first hint of a problem was when I started up Fallout 4 on my Series S with just this mod activated, and the game took noticeably longer to load. Sometimes the game would eventually load, but at other times the game just crashed to desktop or to Xbox home screen. Yeah. Due to these low scores and stability issues, I tried a few problem-solving steps that I'd read about just to try and get the mod to play nicely, but I always obtain these same results. I anticipate this mod has been tested and used mainly on the Series X, so I'll test it out on the Series X for a later video, but I haven't done that yet. But with the low frame rate, performance, and the poor game stability introduced, I can't recommend it for Series S owners. Let me know if you're using it, especially if you're using it on the Series S, and how it's going. I just really want to try and nail down what's causing the performance issues. The last mod is really impressive. It's actually a collection of mods called Simple Seasons. Base mod is called GimpleGreen, Simple Seasons Spring. There are mod add-ons for the other seasons, but this spring mod is the base mod that you must have enabled at all times above any other Simple Seasons mod that you want to include in your load order. It's small. The base mod is less than 1 megabyte in size, and although it was released in 2016, it was updated in April 2024 after the first next-gen patch, which I gotta say personally, I really appreciate support from mod makers like that. That's awesome work. I had a look at Simple Red as well, which changes many tree colors for fall or autumn, depending on where you live. There's also a summer and a winter add-on for this mod as well, but I didn't test those here. I also checked out an optional grass reduction patch. As it says in the title, it scales back the density of grass, and it does a good job. Here is some screenshot comparisons. When on the roof of the Vega factory, there is no change in frame rate with any version of the Simple Seasons mod that I tested. For all three of those, hit an average FPS of 60 with almost no variation in frame rate. That's good to see. When running through the Commonwealth during the Run for Your Life test, Simple Green averaged 56. Simple Green with grass reduction was also 56, and the Simple Red Fall averaged 57. The only issue is, for all three of these, they did cause a fair bit of variation in frame time. It's a shame because especially the Simple Red, it's actually quite a striking change. I really quite like those autumnal colors. So yes, there was a small impact on FPS, but the issue was the amount of low dips in FPS the Simple Seasons mods generated. Personally, I'd find a swing from 57 down to 34 FPS in a single minute to be too distracting. So I'm reluctant to use this mod, but each to their own. So, a quick summary of all that we've seen in this video. Spring in the Commonwealth works fine, as did pre-war green grass. Simple Seasons, which we just looked at, also looks good, loaded okay, but it caused dips in frame rate that some people, including me, will find distracting. Note, even the no mods default mode had lots of dips in frame rate. These results you can see here are from Fallout 4 in its default mode, which is 60 FPS performance mode, running on the Series S with no mods loaded. As you can see, it's trying to stick to 60 FPS, but it's not a consistent frame rate. As I've said in a previous video, a consistent frame rate for me is more important than a high frame rate. So this chart scares the crap out of me, and adding mods may amplify these frame rate drops. The best way I've found to reduce these dips is to set Fallout 4 to run in 40 FPS mode. Here is the Boston run in 40 FPS visuals mode with no mods. I've smoothed out almost all the dips. That's my preferred way of playing. It's my recommended way of playing if you're using a Series S. Healthier Commonwealth and Green in the Commonwealth, the two largest mods tested, both cause stability issues for me on the Series S console. As I said, I'll test them both later on my Series X and report back. I'm going to do a few more videos like this, looking at other types of mods, including lighting, texture, and graphic overhaul mods. So subscribe to see when I publish them. Check out this video about the next gen update, or this one on the Run for Your Life test. Keen to hear any thoughts you've got based on what you've seen in my video. Okay, thanks for watching. Cheers. Ramnexus out.